it gave me the courage to walk out because I was miserable in my job.
Yeah.
I did not have the money at the time to be doing it on my own, really.
Yeah.
But could see that if I couldn't keep doing both things and putting good vibes into my company while being miserable all day, that it just wasn't going to work. So.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Rose Bros podcast. I'm your host, Trevor Rose, and my goal is to share the tips and tricks, stories, and life lessons of other entrepreneurs, business owners, athletes, and interesting people in general to help you succeed better in your life. Today, we are joined by Geordan Spicer of Conan Chocolate, a Calgary-based chocolate company, and we talked about everything from quitting your job to launch your own business, inspirational podcasts, and even mob-run kitchens. So I hope you enjoyed the show. Hello, Geordan. Welcome to the Rose Bros podcast. Thanks for joining me today. Really appreciate you sitting down.
Well, thanks for having me, Trevor.
For people interested, Geordan Spicer is the owner of Kinpod Chocolates, based out of Calgary, Alberta.
Yeah.
Have had the company for how long?
We've been incorporated for just over a year.
About a year now. Tell us a bit about Kinpod Chocolate and yourself. We have read a little bit about you, but we'll let you give us the who, what, why, where.
Amazing. Okay, so Kinpod Chocolate is a bean-to-bar, ethically sourced craft chocolate company. So that means we import beans from small family-run farms in South America. We pay 3 times higher than fair trade minimums, and then we roast and process them into chocolate bars in Calgary.
So how did you get into the chocolate business?
Started working for a local chocolate company when I was 14, and then decided to go to school for pastry arts and chocolate. And I just continued to work for a whole bunch of different chocolate companies, pastry chefing around the world. Calgary really had a gap that I thought that I could fill for bean to bar, and I've been so happy ever since.
Grew up in Calgary?
Yeah.
And went to high school here?
Yes.
Graduated from high school?
Yeah.
And did you start Kinpod right away, or?
No, I went to Le Cordon Bleu in Ottawa. It's the same school, affiliate school that Julia Child went to. And I thought that was really cool. From there, I kind of was undecided whether I should be doing pastry chefing. And so I tried that out. And I didn't like working in restaurants. It wasn't my scene. And I didn't really like working in bakeries. And so I thought I'd switch to chocolate.
Okay.
Yeah. Or switch back to chocolate.
So how long were you in that school for? Sorry?
It's a year program, but it's super condensed. So you're doing exams every day. They're 13-hour days. You don't get really holidays. You're just living at school, basically. Yeah.
So you did that for about a year.
Yeah.
Back to Calgary after that?
Yeah, I stayed there for another year, worked for a few chocolate companies in Ottawa, because there's a lot of them, and then moved back to Calgary.
So around 20, you came back to Calgary.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got Kinpod going right away?
Well, we started doing Market Collective for truffles, but not an official thing, not incorporated, just for fun.
Okay.
On the side while I was pastry chefing for some local places. Then last year, 2018, 2019,
right,
decided that I would quit my day job and just go for it full time.
So you were at, the company you were at before what was it?
We used to be called Moth Chocolate. While I worked for some local places like Model Milk and Pigeonhole and Sidewalk Citizen. The restaurant life wasn't for me, and
yep,
it's a hard life.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Then I decided what happened was I won a bunch of international awards for the chocolate bars, which was a huge surprise. Business started to pick up, and I decided that I could just do it.
On your own?
Yeah.
Okay.
Without pastry chefing.
So tell me about the time when you quit your job. Give us that story for other entrepreneurs from that perspective.
Okay. So I was pastry chefing.
Yes.
For a restaurant group.
Yeah.
I won't say which one. And I wasn't being paid very well.
Yeah.
I was one of 3 managers, and I was making about a third of what the other 2 managers were making.
Okay.
But I was doing the same amount of work.
Yep. A third. So was that
It was
low?
so.
Barely
I'll
getting by.
tell you a number of what a pastry chef makes,
Okay.
and I think people will be pretty shocked.
Like minimum wage you're talking?
Yeah, so it's about $20,000 a year.
Yeah.
And the other two managers are making 60, which is upsetting.
That's pretty good money.
Yeah, it is for what the place was. That was definitely more than they could probably afford to pay those people.
Yeah, but anyways.
But it was happening. I was getting increasingly frustrated. I was talking about how my shoulder was starting to hurt. And I looked like I was visibly aging
yes.
from working full-time job and then doing chocolate full-time. So I listened to that. I had incorporated my company the week before, and then I listened to Conan's interview on Armchair Expert, where he just walked out of SNL, like at the peak of what could have been the peak of his career.
The usual career for
exactly the usual peak for a comedian.
Yes.
And he just walked out because he was miserable. Like a few days later, someone had made a comment that I didn't like. I went out in a fit of rage. We kind of were talking a little bit before. I'm very much, if I'm having a problem, I'm going to tell you in the moment. Mm-hmm. It's going to be probably a little too aggressive, depending on how angry I am. And then that'll be that. And then I just never looked back. I spent 2 days with my mom, and she just kind of told me that I could do it and that I was already doing it. Yeah. And that the time that I had been wasting working for someone else, I'd make so much more money working for myself, be putting more good into the world than taking from it.
And experience too, all you're learning.
And I feel like that's really advice that a parent or like a mom could only give someone.
That's great advice.
It is great advice, but it's also like a leap of faith.
Yeah.
And
a lot of parents though would say, you know,
oh, my parents believe in me for sure. Definitely, which is rare, I think.
Yeah.
I have never regretted that. The only thing I would regret is maybe don't yell so loud. Like
when you were leaving.
Yeah. Because I'm not usually a yeller. And it's very shocking for people when someone yells for the first time.
Yeah. Wow.
Because something that I've learned is, especially in a city like Calgary, everyone knows everyone.
Yes.
So trying to let people know that they've made you angry or upset you without burning a bridge is a skill that I think I still have not really acquired. It's something that I'm still learning how to do all the time.
Yeah. When you talk about leaving your job and taking that leap of faith, what about advice or insights on when you were kind of caught in the middle? You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
Struggling about,
right.
Should I quit?
Should I quit or should I not quit? I was set up for success in sort of a way where I had just incorporated after I had won awards for the chocolate. So there was kind of, I guess, sort of like a hokey sense, like spiritual sense.
Yep.
I thought it was a sign from the universe. And I think that's where faith comes in and helps people in their life.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you just have to believe in what you can't see and hope that it's actually true and not just bogus. And I did, because I needed something to believe in because I was miserable. That really helped. I had incorporated the company, listened to this Conan interview on a podcast, and then somebody made a comment I didn't like, and everything just added up. So
what would you say to people kind of in the middle, like not sure whether they should quit?
Without any, like if there's not a scenario that happens or like a catalyst?
Yeah, what would you tell somebody if they're like, oh, I don't know whether I should quit my job and start my business?
Find money.
Okay.
You got to find money. You have to find money.
Yes.
You have to find a cow and milk it. Right. Or just cover your basic needs. Stop going out.
Yeah.
Don't go to restaurants.
Yep.
You better be cooking all your own meals.
Okay.
And then do it.
Because
actually basic living is affordable.
Yes.
It's all the extra stuff. You got to talk to your friends.
Yeah.
Tell them that if you want to hang out, you can come over.
Yeah.
But we're not going anywhere.
Right.
And it's a sacrifice. If you strip away all of the extra stuff that we do to keep ourselves entertained, you can do it for sure.
And you'd say, just go for it.
Just go for it.
Within reason.
Within reason.
Yes.
Live very minimally.
Right.
And modestly.
Can you imagine yourself, you'd stayed at that job for another 10 years, 5
I
years?
would look like a disheveled old lady.
Right.
I was aging real fast, visibly, and my body was hurting. My company would not be where it is today. I would have to say no to all the great things that have happened to me in the past year.
So you would have regretted not quitting.
Absolutely.
So a lot of that, sometimes I find, I've read Jeff Bezos is the regret scale, when you're 80, what you'll regret. So
yes, absolutely. I would have regretted wasting another year of my life working for someone that I didn't like and doing something that wasn't making me happy.
Absolutely.
I think when you pay to go to school for something, I think that's what the extra hard thing is. You've paid to learn something, but you don't like doing it.
Absolutely.
That's, I think, where people get stuck.
Isn't that hard?
It's so hard, especially like if your parents paid for it and there's pressure.
Yeah.
I think that you just got to remind yourself that going home miserable is not a good way to live your life.
Yes.
That happiness is actually not a fable. It's real. You have to create it, though. It's not just going to happen to you.
Yeah, within reason. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, not every day is perfect as a entrepreneur.
Every day is hard.
It's but
hard in a different way than working for or doing something that you don't like.
Yes. Right. Lessons? Any major lessons you've learned in the last couple of years?
For sure. And the lessons are part of my ethos, where you have to be kind to people, but there was a point where I wasn't.
Okay.
I mean, I was angry. I had a chip on my shoulder from working so much for people who I didn't like at a job that I didn't like.
Yeah.
There was nowhere for my anger to go. So I would do the mean girl thing where I would tell everyone about how terrible this company was or these people were. I'm grateful that actually lots of the people I met while working there helped me get business today. We just landed a huge account, and it was from someone who I had previously wronged.
Yep.
Which is crazy. I mean, imagine if I would have been a little bit nicer to those people or to all the people who I wasn't nice to.
So be nice to people.
Just be nice to people.
Yes.
It's so easy. Sometimes it feels hard when you're miserable. It's hard to create good energy and give it to others when you feel like strangers haven't done anything to deserve it. Yeah. But they're having a hard day too.
Right.
If you're an entrepreneur, you get to work for yourself.
Yeah.
Everyone else has to work for someone else.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's harder.
Absolutely. What would you say to people that are kind of want to go into business for themselves, but they're not really sure what they want to do?
That's hard because I always knew what I wanted to do, and it just kind of presented itself to me. But I see the problem that you just said, where sometimes you don't want to work for someone else, but you don't know what you would do if you were working for yourself. I would say then focus on ethics. Find not a problem that would make you money, but a problem, like a global problem that could be solved, and how you can apply a B Corporation kind of business theory to that. Because then you'll profit and they'll profit, and it's a win-win.
Okay. That's great advice. People could, learn a lot from that way of looking at things. So at this point, you've got a commercial kitchen, obviously.
Yeah. So I started renting from, the first place we started renting was called The Crack House. It's located in downtown Calgary.
Right.
Behind Bar Vonderfels, the restaurant. There's an apartment complex where lots of drug dealers live above.
Right.
And then there's a small commercial kitchen below. I think it's owned by the mafia. I know it's owned by the mafia.
Okay.
We had protection from the guys above us.
Really?
But it was not the best place for a kitchen.
Okay.
It was very cheap.
So it's cheap, like a monthly?
$600 a month for 3 days a week. Okay. 24 hours.
And that's cheap.
That's cheap in Calgary.
How does that compare to what you're paying like now? Is that
now?
Is that secret or?
No. I'll tell you what I pay now because I think it's really important for
other people.
Yeah, to know what's actually affordable when you're starting a small business. I pay $7.35 now at a place in Marda Loop. My friend owns it, which is great. It's safe.
Yeah.
I'm there whenever I want, all month long, which is very reasonable.
Yeah, $700.
And I share it with just the owner of the kitchen and another business owner. It's pretty sweet.
So you own recipes, making
Yes.
them there.
Yes.
That's what you've been doing the whole time then after you got out of the old kitchen and you're in the new one now.
Right. In between that, my friend owns this great peanut brittle company in Strathmore. So I was doing an hour drive to Strathmore and back each day, 4 days a week.
Oh my goodness. Okay.
But we were only paying $400.
Yeah.
It was a beautiful Willy Wonka style factory.
Interesting. That's kind of what KinPod's up to now. Did you grow up wanting to be an entrepreneur? How'd you...
I grew up wanting to make either chocolate or cookies.
That's always been what you
That's all.
wanted to do?
Or social worker. But
Huh.
I could never figure out how the two really cross paths.
Yeah.
There was two things when I graduated high school. I was either going to go to culinary school and continue with chocolate stuff and pastry stuff, or I was going to go become a social worker because I had been volunteering all my time at Brenda's house on the weekends.
Okay.
And if anyone doesn't know, Brenda's house is a great place. It's a homeless shelter for families. It's just kind of up 17th Ave. And I really couldn't decide what to do. And then, as luck would have it, I found ethical chocolate making or bean to bar chocolate making. And that's kind of
Right.
a marriage of those two things.
So you were kind of always wanting your own chocolate company growing up.
Yes.
Was it your goal or was it just...
I thought I was going to work for someone else until I started working at restaurants
Yes.
and realized that I never wanted to work for anyone else
Totally.
ever again.
So
Yeah.
how long did you work for someone else? How long did it take for you to figure that out?
Well, I started working for other people when I was 14. So
Yeah.
I've only been working for myself for over a year. So that's 10 years.
Okay. So kind of took a while for you it to click. I mean, you probably already always knew it in the back of your head.
Yeah.
But
Well, you shouldn't be crying every day after work.
yes.
It's like a
That's...
solid.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you're doing that, maybe don't do that anymore.
It sounds funny when you say it now, but there's a lot of stress and
It seemed reasonable. Everyone else was crying after work all the time.
Yeah.
So you're just like, oh, this is what people do. This is life, not life.
So you think you're probably happier overall now that
I mean, there's still so much stress
a lot of stress.
all the time, but I'd take that stress, like the good stress
Yeah.
that's like motivating and like propelling me forward, as opposed to the stress where I feel inadequate or less than all the time.
Right. KinPod chocolate. I mean, I met you originally when you were doing the pop-up shop. I remember you saying that kind of the goal of the company is slow growth.
Definitely.
And that's kind of your philosophy towards it then?
Yeah.
Slowly grow and...
Slowly grow. Just do what's manageable. I think that I've seen companies grow too fast.
Yeah.
And I almost feel like miss part of the experience.
Yep.
Or you just skip the in-between and get to the ending. And that's, I want to have my company forever. Right now, I don't have plans to sell it. So might as well just take her easy.
It's not built to sell.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good way to look at it.
Yeah.
A lot of people build to sell, right? And
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with making money, but...
Right. Money's great. Let's just say that really quick. Money's fantastic. Nothing against that.
So financially, you found it, I mean, obviously it can be stressful with your own company and
Right.
paying the bills. How do you manage that?
We have an investor, so that really helps
Okay.
with managing stress. But you take it month by month, chop up the month into 4 weeks. And at the end of each week, I'm just like, okay, where am I at now in paying these bills? What do I need to do next week to get to the halfway point, and then 3/4 and then finish line? So you just start over each month and take it day by day, and trust that if you make a good product, people will place reorder.
Yeah.
So that kind of connects to the slow growth.
Yeah.
It's not about selling to new people all the time. It's about selling to people that want to reorder because they like the product. If you're kind to your customers, they'll be kind to you.
Right.
That's generally how I've found life works.
Without getting too much into it, you have one investor?
Yes,
Okay.
we have one investor.
Did they take equity or is the company still yours?
No, the
or-
company's all mine.
all yours.
Just really lucky. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, it's really great. The more I do this, the more I realize that people believe in the ethos of the company.
Yeah.
It's kind of, especially since, I don't know when you're going to release this, but it's Christmassy time right now, or holidays. Yeah. Everyone, it's very Christmas Carol. All the Scrooges do want to give to the people that reflect who they are inside. And I think that really kind of works in our favor.
So when you talk about ethos, I read a quote on your site. I was doing a little homework to get into that. And the quote was, wherever there is a human being, there is a chance for kindness.
Totally.
So is that kind of the
That's it.
philosophy behind the company?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
For example, right now, it's very busy and it's very stressful. So easy to like snap and be angry when things aren't going right.
Yeah.
But you're never going to get the results you want.
Mm-hmm.
It might short term, you might get good results by yelling at someone, but long term, that's not the way to go.
Mm-hmm.
It's about building long lasting relationships with customers and our suppliers. Just the idea that kindness is like a boomerang. You put it out and it'll come back.
So that's kind of the backbone of the company. So kin pod.
Yes.
So what is that then?
So kin means family. We buy from 2 small family-run farms in South America right now.
Okay.
And pod is what the cacao bean grows in, a bean pod.
Interesting. And now, how'd you find those?
My graphic designer and I spent a whole day just throwing out thousands of names because we needed to switch the company's name from Moth Chocolate, which was getting a lot of angry emails about people either being disappointed that there wasn't moths in the chocolate or being grossed out that we would even think that was a plausible name for a company. So we had to find something new.
And then your suppliers, the farmers, did you use a broker for that or?
Yeah, we go through a company called Uncommon Cacao.
Okay.
They bridge the gap between farmers and chocolate makers.
Kind of a broker.
Yeah, they're a broker. Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
So do you guys have to buy bulk from them or?
Yes. Buying beans is one of the most stressful parts about owning the business because it's expensive.
Yes.
And it's actually really hard to see when you're going to run out.
Yeah.
Chocolate has to age, so you really have to have a lot of capital to start a chocolate company.
Right.
Then you have to get them across the border. They screen them for drugs, and so they'll just hold them for a few weeks. And you just can't give anyone chocolate who orders it.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So that ties back to when we were talking about the structure of your company. You have one investor, you own the company yourself. So you had to raise a bit of money or how'd that work?
I had been saving since I was in culinary school. I wanted to own my own company.
Saving.
From a pastry chef salary.
Yeah.
Which is almost nothing. So I just got really good at eating rice.
Yeah. So you saved a bunch of money. I mean, and when we're talking investment, are we talking tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands?
It's hard to tell because I just was investing in assets.
Yeah.
So I was buying, had $900, so I'd buy a small piece of equipment right away. I wouldn't just keep it in the bank because I knew I would spend it on something else.
Right.
So I was just buying little pieces of equipment here and there.
Okay.
Maybe to start a small chocolate company, I think is maybe $50,000.
Yeah.
Ooh, I got so much hand-me-down equipment.
Okay.
There was an old man in Toronto who owned a fudge shop. He posted an ad on Kijiji, but the catch was he just wanted to talk to someone on the phone. So I talked to him on the phone for a few hours, and he sent me all this equipment. He just wanted someone to hear his story.
Interesting.
I know.
So one thing I've always been interested in is how, obviously you're passionate about chocolate, right?
I love it.
Kind of passionate about entrepreneurship.
Yeah.
But we're Rose Bros, we're selling a commodity, right?
Right.
So it's tough.
It is tough.
We're not solving a problem.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, you kind of are.
Well, people need coffee.
Yeah.
But you're not, I don't know, a lot of times you hear people say find a hole in the market or, you know, solve a problem.
Carve your own niche.
Yeah. So how do you combine your passion with a commodity, quote, commodity product? How do you separate? How do you grow? What's the secret? I mean, without getting too much into it, secret to success?
I don't know, one day at a time.
Yeah. So people, do you think, just kind of detect that passion and that's...
Yeah, I think so. I think when you're selling something, you're also selling yourself.
Yeah.
And
telling the story.
I feel like I'm a fairly approachable person because I'm a huge dork. And so no one's ever threatened by me. And I think that honestly works in my favor because sometimes I forget to business and I just want to be friends with someone.
Yeah. When you look for inspiration, how about podcasts, books, anything along those lines?
NPR is how I built this.
Guy Raz.
Yeah, that's my favorite one.
Every week. That's hilarious.
I hate the live shows. I'll say that. You can't hear it as well. Burton, the guy.
Yeah, Jay Carpenter.
Yeah.
Yep.
I cried because he was crying in the podcast.
Yeah.
And it was the whole thing. I really felt that. Guy Raz.
Yeah.
Funny name. He's so good at interviewing people.
Yeah, not bad. He can get a little bit. annoying at times, but
he's very sympathetic.
I mean, overall, he does a great job.
He does. What about you?
How I Built This,
Yeah.
Tim Ferriss.
What's that one?
Tim Ferriss,
Yeah.
4 Hour Work Week
Okay.
is originally how I kind of got into Tim Ferriss.
Okay.
Do you have a favorite How I Built This? Any, top 3? Or
Okay. I like the guy who made Tom's. It was super interesting.
That's kind of where the Rose Bros One Tree
really?
thing.
Yeah. Yes. Right.
Okay.
And then I really liked the Burton,
Yeah.
who's now passed away, which is so sad.
Have you heard Yvonne Chenard?
Oh yeah, he's great.
I like that
Just
one.
not giving any fucks, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, he's, I'd love to meet him, obviously.
Yeah.
Sounds like a very,
He just had no real, like he was just doing it and didn't want to grow too quickly, which is great. And it just started off, he was trying to solve the problem. He just wanted to be outside.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's, I was saying, follow your passion versus solve a problem. I mean, he solved the problem. He was making a product for himself, right?
Right.
So then you kind of think to yourself, well, am I solving a problem with my coffee? There's a lot of coffee already out there, but you're passionate about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of where your head, you kind of have that argument.
Yeah.
You
But
know?
you have to have passion to keep you going, or else you're just going to quit.
Totally.
It's so easy to quit. I think about it probably a few times a week about quitting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Especially when you got a lot of orders and then you've got someone sending a snarky email and it's like, oh, it'd be so much easier to just go do something. Yeah, do a job for someone. And then the other day I was waiting for a drink somewhere and I saw some employee getting yelled at and I was like, nope, right, keep going.
Yeah, totally.
I don't want to be yelled at by someone who I don't respect.
Give it a shot. I mean, so that's kind of where you think back. Ideally, hopefully you find something you're passionate about and you solve a problem, right? I mean, that's, I guess, the dream.
Yeah, totally. I think passion's like the key thing. If you don't have it, why are you doing it?
Right.
You're not going to keep going when it gets really tough, and it's going to get really tough.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'll tell you about, we did advent calendars this year.
Yeah.
And it was a really good idea. And we sold a lot of them.
Yeah.
Way more than expected, which was so exciting. But then things went really south. I had bought a new bundle of barcodes to make sure that it wasn't the same as any of our other barcodes.
Yep.
And the thing about buying bundles of barcodes is sometimes they'll, like, this is just the most unlucky thing that's ever happened.
Yeah.
Put in the same barcode that you could have already purchased in another bundle, like Pokemon cards.
So is that what happened?
That's what happened. And so stores that used barcode scanners were selling our $38 advent calendar for $7.50.
Do you sell it to them up front though, or was that a problem? Like,
we wholesaled. So it was a huge problem. We found out about on the second day that they were released, which was great because like we had the money to give that back to the stores and they could keep selling and put new barcodes on. But had someone not called us, we would have owed a lot of money.
Yes.
Like a significant amount of money that was not in the budget. That day was really tough because just even thinking about how much worse it could be is terrifying.
Stressful. So the theme is that, to get through those sort of things, passion.
You gotta really like your own product enough to be like, no, keep selling them. People are going to really like this.
Yeah.
It's worth it. Sorry about the hassle.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you just have to be really apologetic and cute. Try and be as cute as possible.
Yeah. But if you weren't into it, you'd probably just shrug your shoulders right? I mean,
we're recalling it. Goodbye. This is ending it.
Going back to podcasts. So any other How I Built This episodes?
Well, the podcast episode that made me decide to quit my day job.
Yeah. What about that?
Was Armchair Experts interview with Conan O'Brien. So
I'll have to look that one up.
I quit the 2 days after I listened to it.
Really?
I walked out.
Okay, why?
Because Conan is usually really funny, right?
Yeah.
Obviously, that's his job.
Yeah.
But he was very sincere in this interview, like just very sincere. He was working, I think it was either working for The Simpsons or at SNL. Like two big, like those are, what a career move.
Yeah.
And he just left. He walked out. He didn't have another backup plan. He spent a few months, he said, reading poetry in Central Park. And because he's an intellectual, the stress, I think it was SNL. Like, that's every comedian's dream is to be on SNL.
Yes.
And he just left.
So he's at the top, but he walked out.
Yeah, walked out because he was hating his life. There's no point in hating your life, every day hating your life and being miserable. It gave me the courage to walk out because I was miserable in my job.
Yeah.
I did not have the money at the time to be doing it on my own, really. Yeah. But could see that if I couldn't keep doing both things and putting good vibes into my company while being miserable all day, that it just wasn't going to work. So I just jumped.
Armchair experts, Conan O'Brien, that story.
That's the story.
That you heard it.
Yeah.
And you quit.
I quit. Definitely.
You just put your notice in and...
I walked out yelling. Yeah.
That's great. You did that and then you started the chocolate company immediately, or...
I had incorporated the company the week before.
Okay.
So it was all kind of headed in that direction.
Right.
And then I just was like, well, it doesn't make sense to have an incorporated company and be working full time at two things. I'm very tired. I look like I've aged 10 years in the past, few months. This, I'm gonna, I was starting to have weird shoulder pains and I was like, stress. What is happening? Yeah. And as soon as I quit, my shoulder pain went away. I kind of reversed the aging process. People thought I was nearing my 40s and I was 24.
Yeah.
So that's not great.
Yeah. So even though you're stressed now with your own business, it's more of a healthy stress.
Yeah, because I've created the problem. So I can solve it or choose a different problem.
Getting back to when you quit, what would your advice be to someone else, another business owner? Would you say...
Don't scream.
Would you say keep your job as you work your other one, or would you say just quit and go after it?
If you know that you have a possibility for an investor, quit your job. If you don't know where the money's coming from, figure that out.
Yeah.
Write your business plan, go to the bank, and just do that. But don't put it off. It has to be quick.
So that's kind of the struggle I think some people face, right? And I felt it too, is... Yeah. Do you continue with your side hustle while you work? Do you quit and just go for it?
Rover. I started walking dogs. That's what I did. I forgot about that.
So that's kind of another way you paid the bills after you quit the job?
I figured I could make enough to cover my personal rent from walking a few dogs. Be good enough.
Just to wrap things up, we heard the story, inspiration, some lessons. What would your kind of main advice be to other entrepreneurs getting going, or looking back, on your own story? Do you have any key pieces you'd give to somebody of advice?
I think about this all the time. Be kind to everyone, because you don't know who knows someone else, and it'll always come back to you. I really believe in that. It's not visible, but you can feel it for sure. And sometimes you can actually see it happen. Be kind. It's easy. It doesn't have to be hard. Tenacity. Be tenacious.
Yes.
Take everyone's advice with a grain of salt. And then when something really moves you, go for it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Listen to Conan.
Alrighty. Well, that's great. Thanks for sitting down. Yeah. Really appreciate the conversation. Cool. So we'll end it there. Thank you. Hey everyone, thanks for listening. Hopefully you enjoyed the show. If you like what you heard or want to check out more, head over to rosebros.ca, where we will have upcoming episodes. You can also find our coffee and chocolate there, where we plant one tree for every bag or bar sold through our partnership with One Tree Planted, a non-for-profit organization focused on global reforestation. Otherwise, until next time, happy coffee drinking and see you later.